Hi, welcome to the SDP. I'm Kevin, the happy hipster.
僕はイチゴアニメのキヨトホストだ。
Folks, I'm sorry, I came this close to reviewing a movie last episode, but it ended up becoming a video game review by accident.
そうですね。
Right. Well, allow me to make it up to you by actually reviewing a movie this time. But what? What to review?
でも、君の気に入りの映画は何だか?
Well, to be honest, either GoldenEye or Tomorrow Never Dies, but those are both spoken for.
Eh?
Yeah, I did them for the 007 Diamond Jubilee. My side project? On Dailymotion?
僕はそれを聞いたことがない理由です。
Okay, fine, I'll make an audio version for YouTube, but the Bond movies are off limits this time around.
そして、他に何が好きだか?
Hey, Ichigo. You've ever heard of the movie Airplane?
飛行機? なんだか?
Well, it's a big, long thing that carries people and flies, but that's not important right now. Actually, it is.
Because Airplane proved itself to be a landmark in the history of comedy. And yet, it's tough to pinpoint what makes it all work, other than the fact that you'll be laughing every step of the way. This X Factor has become even tougher to define given all those who have tried to emulate it and failed. Anyone who's familiar with the names Seltzer and Friedberg know what I'm talking about.
But in case you didn't know, they made a sequel with the very meta title of Airplane 2, the sequel. Is this a worthy successor to the comedy crown of its predecessor, or does it deserve instead to be tossed into the ever-expanding peanut gallery? Find out after this. Despite the rapid-fire comedy assaulting you at all times during Airplane 2, there is a plot to be had, although since it's spelled out in bits and pieces throughout, I might as well give it to you straight now.
Ted Stryker has enjoyed great fame after his daring, life-saving landing in the first film. Eventually, he was hired to test pilot a space shuttle called the Mayflower, only to have it crash. Whilst the damage was supposedly caused by a hardware failure, the company used Ted as a fall guy, and after a trial, he was ruled as mentally insane. When we first see Ted, he is committed in an asylum until he learns that the Mayflower is about to embark on its maiden voyage to a moon colony, and breaks out to warn the passengers and crew, including his now ex-girlfriend Elaine. The Mayflower takes off with no incidents until Rock, the onboard computer, suffers a short circuit and locks the shuttle on course to the sun. Because reasons. In their attempts to manually disable Rock's systems, co-pilot Unger and navigator Dunn are forced out of the airlock, and the pilot, the returning Captain Over, is nerve-gassed. Okay, Mr. Graves, we get it. You were in Mission Impossible. Could you please not insult our collective intelligence? So once again, Stryker is drafted to take over the pilots, with McCroskey, the operator from before, providing radio support. But this time, he can't do much for himself until Rock is disabled.
Do a barrel roll!
Things get complicated when passenger Joe Salucci intends to detonate a suicide bomb in order to give his family life insurance money, or what he thinks is life insurance.
Wait, wait a minute. It's an auto insurance.
Of course, since multiple plot threads are best resolved together, Stryker confiscates it and uses the explosives to blow Rock.
Those are their words, not mine.
We're gonna have to blow the computer.
Blow Rock?
And with the computer out of commission, they hightail it to the moon. Waiting for him on the radio is the captain of the lunar base, Buck Murdock. Okay, Mr. Shatner, we get it. You were in Star Trek. Could you please not insult our collective intelligence? Unfortunately for Stryker, he was involved in a bungled mission from the war, which is apparently not the same mission, or possibly even the same war, referred to in the first movie.
If it weren't for those people up there, I'd say let Ted Stryker go down in a fiery, twisted mass of molten metal.
But Stryker is able to get over his past and manages a safe crash landing on the moon's surface. No, etc. Somehow, there is gravity and breathable air on the surface of the moon.
Ladies and gentlemen, they just didn't care. Or did they? Yes, I recognize this is a comedy film, and given that in the first film they had a jet plane make propeller sounds, I would be willing to grant some artistic license. Still, there's artistic license, and then there's insulting the intelligence of the audience. I don't know about you, but I can't help seeing this as the latter.
So anyway, Ted and Elaine get married, Murdock forgives Stryker for what happened during the war, although by all accounts he should be dead right now, and Salucci asks for his briefcase back. You are now free to turn off your TV.
So, as you can tell, the plot is very much a clone of the original movies, except... wait for it! Space! Even though the original Airplane's directors were not involved this time around, the powers that be were at least nice enough to bring back the original cast. So, does the humor set the sequel apart? It's true that some of the gags were recycled from the original.
For example, in the trial flashback alone, passengers from the first movie provide testimony and replay their famous shticks, such as the jive as a second language talker and the hysterical woman who needs some sense literally beaten into her.
I have the strangest feeling we've been through this exact same thing before.
On the pop culture side of things, whilst this is, thankfully, neither of the Airplane movies' strong suits, there are thinly veiled allusions to sci-fi fare this time around. Some more recent, like Star Wars and E.T., than others, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was iconic yet 14 years old at the time.
But at the very least, I can't blame the writers for having a memory span longer than a couple of years, unlike some guys I know. If I could pick one thing that the original Airplane did best, it would be its ability to look at everyday occurrences and portray them in an absurdist manner. You know, the kind of humor you wish today's parody films would stick to? Well, you'll be pleased to hear that Airplane 2, the sequel, has this in spades.
If it takes a lot of creativity to invent gags like the Spaceport's information deck, which gives out increasingly non-spaceport related information...
How long is my parking permit good for?
2 hours.
Thank you.
Yes, next.
What's the fastest animal on Earth?
The cheetah. Next.
The barrels of flammable material in the shuttle's cargo hold, or the machine in Murdock's moon base which does nothing other than send lights back and forth across a series of tubes.
Sir, that's impossible. It must have some sort of function. I mean, why would the government put all that money into a thing with red lights that keep going back and forth? Doesn't make any sense. Keep working on us.
Then I'll certainly applaud the effort given the alternatives. What's more, some of the jokes are still relevant in today's socio-political climate. Although given the one where visibly heavily armed raider types pass through a metal detector and are ignored, in retrospect this isn't always a good thing. But no matter the subject matter, it's too bad this sort of humor was already pioneered by the first movie. Come to think of it, Airplane 2 is a retread of the original in many other ways. The characters, whether the same people or just similar roles, are recycled, and numerous events follow the same structure.
Things sure haven't changed.
It gets to the point where it's almost the exact same movie, only set in space, and they couldn't even get that part right. That said, is Airplane 2 that much worse than the original? It's true the content of the jokes is different, and if that's enough to get you to like this, then more power to you. Plus, they went the extra mile in creating a deeper plot. But like the Airport series it set out to parody, Airplane is sadly not immune to a formula-induced sequel slump. So, what am I going to give as this film's rating? Koka? Nandaka? It's the score I use to quantify how good I think a work is, but that's not important right now. Airplane 2, the sequel, scores 75%. B-.
This is Kevin, with Ichigo, and you are the Resistance. I don't always ask for subscribers, but when I do, don't call me Shirley. Stay thirsty, my friends.